Hello and welcome to the show. We're back on BeamNG Drive today with a new time trial series. The Pine Hills Rally was plenty good fun. However, I fancied a change of scenery, a circuit where we can perhaps have a little bit more speed. Now, I had initially intended on building something around the city. I did try, I spent quite a while actually trying to get a circuit that I liked. I couldn't quite build any layouts that I particularly liked using the road around the city. Kind of too many just 90-degree corners and so on, and it just wasn't that much fun to drive around. You also weren't likely to have necessarily big crashes going on in the city. So instead, I have come out to, well, this is our starting point out by a big old radio tower, and I've come up with a really rather interesting route. It's also our first kind of multi-surface stage. We've had fully dirt stages, fully tarmac stages, kind of tarmac stages with a tiny bit of dirt. In this one here, starts off, we are on dirt. It's quite narrow, quite technical, a beginning around here. Now, this is likely to catch out some of the race cars. Vehicles on proper racing slicks have very little grip. They're also likely to be very fast vehicles that are going to try and traverse this bit of terrain. So this could cause a few issues. Also, some fairly sizable drops off the side of this if things go a little bit wrong. It's not the longest section, but as we leave that, we head into a car park where we're going to turn left around here. And then we're on to the tarmac section of the stage. Now, again, to start off with, these are going to be some relatively tight hairpins for the cars to deal with. There's plenty of rocks lining the outside of the course for if things go a little bit wrong. There's crash barriers to catch us when I inevitably push it too hard into these turns. So we have a couple of hairpins to, sort of 3 hairpins to be dealing with plenty of rocks. I could also foresee many a car rolling over on the inside. And then to finish off, we've got a fairly fast run towards the line, starting with this left-hander, a little bit bumpy left-hander with a big old concrete wall for us to clonk into on the outside. We're then going to pick up a fair bit of speed up towards this final long right-hander, and the finish line is a little bit got a little bit awkward. I've overdone it in this testing run. That's where we're going to try and get the cars down between to the finish, so we can't afford to wander out too wide over here, because once you get on the dirt, as you saw there, once you get out on the dust, on the dirt, you are in a lot of trouble. You've got to try and get the car across to get underneath the finish line. It's a tough course, this one. While it hasn't got the same ferocity in terms of bumps that we had at the Pine Hills and so on, there's a lot of different challenges going on here. There's low speed, there's dirt, there's a higher speed corners to test just about every single aspect of a vehicle. So we should get, hopefully, some interesting results. Now, this Sunburst seems like a suitable vehicle to take on the course first. This is a sport version of the car. We've got a decent amount of power. We've got all-wheel drive. We are on road tyres, but they aren't full slicks. We should hopefully have a little bit of grip when it comes to this dirt section. But still going to have to be careful. We can get away kind of a little bit more with throwing the car. Nope, we can't. No, we can't. I was going to say we can get away with throwing the car around a little bit more because it's all-wheel drive. Apparently we cannot. It's upside down on its first run. I would say this is a very FailRace approved course. Sorry, Sunburst. And now, the junction, no real idea what this car is going to... That's too much speed. Didn't know how much speed I would be able to get away with going through there. It's not quite got as much grip as I was expecting it to have, and that's a silly clonk on the wall. Bugger. Yeah, car still driving in a straight line. That's the important thing. Can we carry any more speed through these? Oh, no. We're not going to carry more speed through there. Oh, I was pushing that one there as much as I dare through the hairpin. We almost got it right. Almost got it right, but the rear wheel is at a very, very unhappy angle that suggests no, we did not get it right with the Sunburst. certainly doesn't take much to have some big offs with this car around here. Even though we're not... Oh, we're going to overdo it on the way into the dirt section. I had been having luck with kind of throwing the car through the dirt section a little bit to get some speed. That was way too fast on the way in. That was far too quick, and that's going to be the outcome of that. The car's actually still in fairly healthy condition. It pulls quite badly to the right, but surprisingly drivable. Oh, try and keep my foot down. We get a big slide. No idea how much speed we're going to be able to take around this final corner. That's going to be too much, I think, on the way in. Yeah, we're not stopping. We're not going to make that. Well, I mean, we are going to kind of make it in the end. Need to be slower on the way into that corner. I think it's like a nasty tightening radius corner that we have going on there. I mean, technically, we're going to finish. There we go. We have finished, but we had a big spin on the final. Well, a big spin, a big off, a big understeer moment on that final corner. Oh, we're surprisingly still happy after that crash. Yeah, the Sunbursts are strong. I know it's a more road-going version of the car, if you like, but I really didn't think the Sunburst was going to have massive issues here. Oh, damn. Oh, thought we were safe to get all the power out of that corner. It was so nice on the way into that turn. And then just clipped the rocks on the outside, and we have gone for another tumble. Again, still drives pretty straight, pretty decent alignment still after all that. Well, so far I think we have thoroughly explored all of the various places around this circuit where we can have a crash. The Sunburst has done a good job of finding the troublesome areas. We've definitely got to watch that kind of rock face on the outside. Don't say anything, actually, a dumb idea to say anything. We haven't had any big problems around here as of yet, but that is largely helped by it being a fairly slow section of track, and the all-wheel drive Sunburst can kind of get away a little bit with sliding the car through some of those tighter sections. When we get to big, powerful rear-wheel drive cars, I'll be interested to see how they fare through those corners. This hasn't got crazy levels of grip on the dirt, but it's still not too shabby. Panic and try and slow the car down. I had a horrible feeling we were going to go into the crash barrier there. We did not. It's again pretty decent run on the exit. If we can keep the car off of the dirt, we get away with just a smidge of a touch on it. Out of the final hairpin we go. Now, the junction is deceptively tricky, actually, this corner. It's a lot tighter corner than you think on the run-up to it, and that is a lot neater line through there than we have been doing previously. Should be good to give us acceleration up towards the final corner here. We are going to be slower, much slower on the way in. That is more like it. Just get the apex, and we will be across the line for the Sunburst. Oh, that's a scary run. Scary run around there. So many different places where dumb things can go on. However, the Sunburst has made it down, and now we are just apparently tearing off bumpers for good luck. I think that's certainly be a good benchmark for the road cars to be measured against. Up next, we have got something, well, vastly different to the Sunburst. We've got a off-road hopper. Now, we shouldn't have too much in the way of issues when it comes to this first section. The hopper should be very good indeed down here. We've got the right tyres and so on for finding traction. It's relatively... Whoa, no, it's a bit wider than I thought it was. It's a little bit wider than I was expecting the hopper to be. That being said, apart from the door, that's relatively unscathed, well, entirely unscathed, I think, through there. I think the front wheel is a little bit bent. Oh, okay. That's how the hopper's going to react to the hairpins. We've got to be very, very careful of all of that, because I don't think it's going to take much. Oh, I've turned in too soon again. Oh, couldn't... I realised I turned in too soon, and just didn't quite have the time to react to all of that one. Yeah, got to be careful with the hopper when it comes to heavy cornering. That's perhaps not a massive surprise. Trying to run this one relatively quickly. That's a big amount of understeer through there that we've got. Oh, buckle the front wheel. Yeah, we've not got much in the way of turning anymore. I was testing the steering, and then not got much in the way of turning. Quickly became wheels were stuck on the dirt, and we were not going to have a fun time trying to stop that. How are we going to fare heading up towards these fast corners? It's fairly uninspiring on the way into this first part. It might end up clonking the wall. Yeah, I think we've got broken something at the front of the car. And we're going to go for a big tumble across the field. It was like broken. Something was not happy with the alignment in all of that. Well, we found a new field to roll across. I think what we have learnt from all of this. Definitely found a new field to get cars stuck upside down in. We have got away with brushing the wall ever so slightly. How fast can I get away with throwing the hopper in through this final corner? That's too much speed! There was I'm actually really surprised. It was ambitious on the way in. I didn't think we were going to make it quite that far around the corner, I will be honest. It was very ambitious on the way in, and almost worked. Well, so far we have spent quite a lot of time upside down. As expected, the higher speed sections of the circuit are not the vehicle's best friend. It's just a general lack of grip in this. And it's not got the greatest of engines either, this one. It's certainly not a high revving engine, and it at times feels a little bit of a lazy bugger getting out of these corners. I've got to be careful. I have a terrible habit of over revving the engine around some of these corners. Not quite well. I'm not quite sure how far I can push. I keep thinking I can push it more than I actually can. Now try and get it through these hairpins a little bit better. We are asking for trouble with the Armco around there. Oh, I'm asking for trouble doing that as well. It's a lovely line through that corner that we got, but very, very close to disaster. There goes the over-rev of the engine slightly. We can get away with a little bit on this, of course. Thankfully, we are driving down a relatively short course, so the engine blows to bits later on. Doesn't really matter. Now, let's get on the brakes earlier here. That's better. Let's not run out towards the concrete barrier just yet. We'll use that acceleration. There is a bit of a, well, mound of dirt on the outside there, kind of where I want to put the car. But let's not worry about that. We can throw it into this final corner. That's a lot more like it for the hopper. That is a good final couple of turns. And it will be finished and across the line. Got to be very, very careful with any of the tarmac corners in this that have got any sort of possible dirt on the inside. You clip any of it and this will fall over. All it takes is the slightest encouragement to get it up onto two wheels, and it will be more than happy to go for a tumble, and it certainly found plenty of places to go for a tumble. However, through the higher speed stuff, if you didn't make a silly mistake, it was more composed than I feared it might be, so yeah, not a terrible showing from the car. Our third and final vehicle for the day is the Miramar. This, a race-spec version of the car. It is our first rear-wheel drive and first slick-shod car to take on this new course. Likely to not do too much through this first... I say not do too much through this first section. Likely to slip and slide its way through this first section. Uh-oh. Well, that was uneventful. we have slipped and slided and fallen off into a bush. And, yeah, very, very unspectacular from this car. Now, we will potentially be able to get away with a fair bit more speed through these corners than we have done so far. It's just how far can you push the vehicles? This might be a bit too much. I feared it on the way in it was going to do something like that. Bugger. It got through the first part, I just couldn't get the back end back under control again. We need a mighty wing, I think, on the Miramar. I mean, of all the ways to impale a car on a rock, that kind of, I say impale, that got away with relatively minor damage. The door is completely... I'm not quite sure how we managed to do so much damage to the door and all of that, but there we go. Now, unlike the Pine Hills Rally, for example, this is a little bit of a wider road. There is more room for error. But, that being said, we're going to run, really wide. Oh! That's not what we wanted to have. Yeah, there is a little bit more margin for error in this course in some places. However, that being said, it still doesn't take much. Certainly at some of the high speeds. I'm not quite sure how we lost that. I guess we were kind of sliding our way across the road and then across some rocks on the outside of the course. And that is enough to see the tyre let go on the Miramar. Trying to get away with that speed on the exit. Don't upset the rear of the car. It's going to get a little bit sideways. Oh, it's going to get a lot bit sideways. We're going to go for a big old tumble. Again, same corner. This car will carry good speed there. It will carry good speed through that section, but if you ask it just that 1% too much, it doesn't quite have the rear grip to go with it. Well, that's 3 out of 3 cars that have gone for a roll on this course today. As we head up towards the final corner. Oh, please get turned in. Please get turned in. No, we're not going to get turned in. We're going to miss the finish. Oh, bugger me. That's going to be where we're going to see cars off, I think. I was expecting that to carry more corner speed. I was really thinking that I was going to be able to make that corner. It did not. It did not make that corner. We did not cross the finish line, so therefore the run does not count with the Miramar. Well, it was always likely we were eventually going to have something miss the finish line with the nature of that final corner. It's always, yeah, always likely. It's a really nasty turn. The more I've driven it so far here, the more I've come to dislike it. It's such a horrible tightening radius corner. I knew it was always going to be a challenge for these cars. It was always going to be a difficult corner, that one, because it is pretty fast on the way in. You've got to be very, very mindful of the tightening aspect of the turn. The dirt section not catching out this race car too badly as of yet. This hairpin, well, not to say this hairpin, this turn has been perhaps one of the bigger areas. I'm thinking we're going to see some high-powered cars have big issues at that corner. We're going to see a lot of slides and a lot of clonking into Armco and into rocks and so on as we fight for control of cars. The little Miramar, though, doesn't quite have the power. It can get into trouble, but it doesn't quite have the power to really get itself into a lot of trouble. A little bit of caution from me and everything is okay. Up towards the junction we go. That's pretty much what I want the car to do, although as I'm trying to get as sort of smoother a line as possible, we just bounce a little bit across the dirt. Now, let's not get carried away here. That is a lot more like it in the Miramar. It's across the dirt on the inside. Oh, not quite sure. We got something upset on the way across just before we hit the finish line. Something upset the car. It's okay because, well, this time we made it through the finish line. We might have crashed, but we made it through the finish line rather than ending up on the motorway. It's, yeah, not a happy-looking Miramar after the finish line. That's what lampposts will do to your vehicle. It did make it, though. Did make it, and is still just about drivable. Well, there we go. That is the first 3 cars having gone down this course. I shall be very interested to see what their run times are. So, on to our leaderboard, and it's actually relatively close between all 3 of the vehicles, despite them being vastly different. The Sunburst will go to the top of the table, 125.2. The Miramar in second. I would have expected it perhaps to be the other way around. I wonder if the Miramar lost too much time through the dirt section. Also, let's face it, at the end of the day, it doesn't quite have exactly the same power as the Sunburst for the acceleration zones. The Hopper is down in third and currently last with 133.2. But again, I'm not hugely surprised by that while good across the dirt. Naturally, it's always going to struggle further around the circuit. So I think that's a decent time for that Hopper. And bizarrely, all of the cars run times have been ended with a 0.2. That's, I think, a first, perhaps, for, well, any timed video that I've done. But there we go. That is going to be it for this first episode. If people want to give me names for some of the corners around this circuit, please do. The best ones will we'll make it in. However, that's going to be it for today. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.